I'm joined now by retired General George Casey, who served as a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under President George W. Bush and Barack Obama when Casey was Chief of Staff of the Army. A 41-year Army veteran, Casey also served as commander of U.S. and multinational forces in Iraq from 2004 to 2007. We spent a lot of time together back there in Iraq. So what happened Friday night was truly unprecedented. Firing the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, another member of the Joint Chiefs, and several senior officers. How concerned are you about that?
Martha, that's extremely destabilizing at a time that's a lot going on domestically and a lot going on abroad. When you remove so many senior leaders, especially without justifying and giving due cause, it creates huge uncertainty in the ranks. And it just isn't a good thing for the military at a very difficult time.
And explain the difference, General Casey. You've got federal workers being fired, but it's different when you fire members of the military who are not supposed to be political.
Yeah, let me give you a quick civics lesson to explain the point about civilian control over the military. When George Washington brought the Constitutional Convention together in Philadelphia in the summer of 1787, they were wrestling with the problem of how to create an effective standing military that wouldn't threaten the democracy it was designed to protect. And of those, the 39 signers of that Constitution, 22 were veterans of the Revolutionary War. And they established the principle of putting the control over the military in the hands of the elected civilian leaders of the legislative branch and of the executive branch. And the military has accepted that for 236 years.
Pete Hegseth implied that General Brown was a DEI hired. He made no secret that he wanted to fire General Brown. And at the heart of that seems to be DEI. And General Brown, as you just saw, had made those videos about his own experiences with racism after the George Floyd murder. Do you think DEI is the reason these men and women were fired?
I can only go with what the administration has said, and that seems to be the prominent reason that has been put forward. And that's a problem for me, because these leaders were following the lawful directives of the civilian leaders of the past administration. And now we're going to put leaders in jeopardy and punish them for following lawful orders from another administration. I mean, give me a break.
And right now, in fact, this first month under President Trump, they got rid of those DEI programs, so they were, in a sense, following the orders of this administration.
The administration has complete control over the directives and policies that the department follows. So they could change the policies. They don't need to change the people.
Let me read you something from one of the men who was fired, General James Slife, who is the vice chief of the Air Force. He said the president and secretary of defense deserve to have generals they trust, and the force deserves to have generals who have credibility with our elected appointed officials. While I'm disappointed to leave under these circumstances, I wouldn't want the outcome to be any different. So why shouldn't the president be able to choose the people
he should. In fact, I may disagree with the timing and everything of these removals, but it is significantly within the president's prerogative. That's his prerogative. He is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and we follow the directives of our civilian leaders.
But you're saying shouldn't have done it that way, or there should be cause, or the people, or he does not understand.
It should be better explained. And again, I honestly don't think it was necessary, because if they want to change the direction, they can change the policies and not the people.
Do you have any concerns about President Trump's choice to replace Brown? I want to read something from former Chief of Staff, or former Joint Chiefs Chairman General Marty Dempsey, who wrote last November that if these generals were fired, it would call into question the credentials and qualifications of the new officers appointed to take their place. Lieutenant General Dan Kane, a 3-star, not a 4-star, coming back from retirement. Do you have concerns that he may be too political?
Honestly, it's not for me to say. I don't sit in judgment over the people who are going to be appointed by our civilian leaders. I think that's something that the Senate Armed Services Committee will take up as they provide their advice and consent on that nomination.
And just finally, General Casey, talk about what this does to the morale of the younger officers or the younger enlisted folks.
Yeah, as I said, it creates uncertainty in the ranks. And I've talked to a few people over the last couple of days, and you know, can you imagine if you're a young officer and you're looking up and saying, why did these people get removed? Because you don't want to do what they did. And so you're trying to figure that out. And it just creates a lot of turbulence and uncertainty.
Okay, thanks so much, General Casey. It's good to see you again.